The market on Station Alien was loud, crowded, and full of smells that made most visitors wrinkle their noses. Alien merchants shouted about their goods, trying to attract buyers. Strange foods, rare crystals, and even mechanical pets were on display. But among the crowd there were whispers and stares aimed at one figure. Zira moved carefully between stalls. Her green-scaled skin shimmered in the neon lights. Her forearms carried bundles of strange artifacts, tiny devices, glowing. Stones and odd trinkets. Her face had sharp features, and her bright amber eyes looked at everyone cautiously. Many aliens avoided her gaze. Some whispered, "Monster," or "weirdo." Zira had heard those words all her life. She didn't need to hear them again. She stopped at a small, empty space between two merchants. Carefully, she arranged her goods. Most people walked by without even looking. The few who glanced at her quickly hurried away. Zira's hands shook slightly. She was used to rejection, but it never felt easy. Then she saw him. A human, young and tall, with a backpack slung over one shoulder, moved closer. His dark hair fell over his forehead. His eyes didn't flick away. They stayed on her. Zira felt a strange pull, a mixture of fear and curiosity. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and most ignored her. The human stopped in front of her stall. He looked at the trinkets carefully, touching them gently but respectfully. "These are beautiful," he said. His voice was soft, kind. "Where did you find this one?" He held a small glowing crystal between his fingers. Zira's heart skipped a beat. Most customers wouldn't even ask, they would just laugh or walk away. But this human, Ethan, he treated her like she was normal, like she mattered. She cleared her throat. "I found it in the Rinks caves. Dangerous place. Only a few survive the caves and return with crystals." Ethan's eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing. You went there alone?" Zira nodded. "Yes, alone. Most people avoid it, they say it is cursed." Ethan smiled faintly. "Cursed or not, it's incredible. I like that you are brave enough to go." Zira looked away, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Warmth. Usually people only saw her as scary. They didn't care about bravery or skill. Only the scales, the extra limbs, the sharp teeth. But Ethan noticed her courage. "Do you want to buy it?" she asked cautiously. Ethan shook his head. "I'd like to, but I want to know more first. Tell me about the caves. I have never heard of them." Zira hesitated. Talking to strangers could be dangerous. People could steal her secrets. But something about this human made her speak. She told him about the jagged rocks, the hidden tunnels, the glowing crystals, and the creatures that lurked in the dark. She spoke quietly but with excitement. For the first time in many years, she felt that someone listened. Other aliens in the market noticed them. Some sneered, whispering to each other. Who is he talking to? That monster? One small creature threw a half-eaten fruit in Zira's direction. She didn't react. She had learned not to fight back in public. Ethan, however, calmly stepped in front of her. "Hey," he said firmly. "Leave her alone. She didn't do anything to you." The alien froze, surprised by the human's boldness. Without another word, it scuttled away. Zira blinked. No one had ever defended her like that. Her throat felt tight. She swallowed hard and managed a small nod of thanks. I'm Zira," she said quietly. Ethan smiled. "I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you, Zira." Zira felt something strange, something she didn't understand. Humans weren't supposed to care about monsters like her. They were supposed to stay away, maybe laugh, maybe scream. But Ethan, he just looked at her with genuine interest. "Would you like to see more?" Zira asked, gathering a few more trinkets from her bundles. She placed them carefully on the cloth she had spread. Ethan bent slightly, inspecting each one. "These are amazing," he said. "Your work? Or did you find them all?" Zira shook her head. "I find them. Sometimes I repair them. Sometimes I sell them as they are. Nobody else wants these things." Ethan's smile grew. I like that you care about things others ignore. That makes them special. Zira blinked. Nobody had ever said that to her before, not a single person. She felt her chest tighten. For a moment, she almost forgot to breathe. Do you want to buy one? She asked, unsure. Ethan looked at the glowing crystal again, then at Zira. I want it, and I want to pay you fairly. You deserve it. Zira's hands shook slightly as she took the crystal from the pile. She expected him to back away, to drop it and leave, but he didn't. He held out his hand and she placed it carefully in his palm. Thank you, Ethan said softly. I'll treasure this. Zira looked at him. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she just nodded. The market grew louder around them. Zira could feel the eyes of the other aliens filled with suspicion, fear, and sometimes anger. But Ethan didn't care. He was calm, kind, and genuine. For the first time, Zira felt seen, not as a monster, but as someone who mattered. As Ethan walked away, he turned back and waved. Zira waved back, her heart pounding. She didn't know why, but she wanted to see him again. For the first time in a long time, Zira allowed herself a small thought. Maybe not everyone hated monsters. Maybe some humans, like Ethan, could see what others could not. And that small thought made her feel hope, a feeling she hadn't felt in many, many years. The spaceport outside Station Alien was quieter than the bustling market. Ships of all shapes and sizes lined the docking bays, engines hissing softly and lights blinking in rhythm. Ethan stood beside his small explorer craft, checking the instruments one by one. His mission was simple, but dangerous. Retrieve a rare, energy crystal from the asteroid belt near the planet Charon. The crystal could power small colonies for months, but the asteroid field was notorious for its unpredictable storms and rogue scavengers. Zira approached, her forearms folded cautiously. She had insisted on joining him, and Ethan had agreed. Curious about her knowledge of alien terrain, most humans would have refused, thinking it too dangerous to take a monster along. But Ethan had learned something about Zira. Her courage was real and her skills were unmatched. You really want to come? He asked, double-checking her harness. I know these rocks better than anyone, Zira replied, her amber eyes sharp. I have survived storms that could crush your ship. You need me. Ethan smiled faintly. All right then. Let's survive this together. The ship's engines roared to life. As they left the station and entered the dark space between stars, Ethan noticed Zira observing everything carefully. She studied the ship's controls, the sensors, and even the navigation lights. You fly well, she said after a moment. But these readings, something is wrong with the northern quadrant of the field. Ethan leaned over the scanner. You're right. The asteroid density is higher than expected. Could be dangerous for an unprepared ship. Exactly, Zira said, her tail curling slightly in thought. And there are scavenger drones. They look for weak ships. They won't hesitate to attack. The warning lights blinked faster as the ship approached the belt. Ethan adjusted the thrusters, weaving through the jagged rocks with practiced skill. Zira pointed out hidden tunnels and crevices in the asteroid field that were invisible to the sensors. Here, she said, go this way. The path is narrow but safer. Watch the rotating asteroid ahead. It will crush a small ship if you misjudge. Ethan nodded, following her directions. How do you see this so clearly? Zira shrugged. I grew up on dangerous rocks. I learned to read their movements like people read the wind. You learn quickly or you die. They moved silently, the hum of the ship and the distant twinkling of stars filling the cabin. Then, without warning, the scanners beeped urgently. A group of rogue scavenger drones appeared on the sensors, moving fast toward them. Ambush, Zira muttered. We have no time to avoid them. We need to fight or hide. Ethan gripped the controls tightly. All right, let's see what we can do. The first drone zipped past the ship, firing a laser that missed by inches. Ethan maneuvered skillfully, dodging between asteroids as Zira guided him. Left. No, right. Watch the spinning rock. They narrowly avoided a collision, and Ethan felt his heart race. For the first time, he realized how dangerous his decision to take Zira had been, but he also realized how valuable she was. Her instincts were perfect, her knowledge precise. Without her, he might already be wrecked among the asteroids. A second drone fired. Zira moved quickly, manipulating the ship's auxiliary controls with her extra arms. A sharp pulse emitted, disabling the drone temporarily. Ethan adjusted the course, weaving closer to the asteroid field for cover. "You're incredible," he said, genuinely impressed. "I've never seen anyone handle a ship like this." Zira blinked, unused to compliments. "I'm not doing it for praise. I'm doing it so we survive." The chase continued for several minutes. Every movement had to be precise. One wrong turn, and the ship would be crushed. Zira spotted a hidden crevice between two massive asteroids. "Through here!" she shouted. Ethan steered sharply. The ship slipped into the narrow gap, hiding them from the drones. They paused, catching their breath. Zira's hands rested on the controls, her amber eyes scanning every shadow. "We're safe for now," she said softly. Ethan exhaled, feeling the adrenaline leaving his body. That was close. Zira tilted her head. "Close? We're not safe yet. The crystal is deeper inside, and scavengers may be waiting for us." Ethan nodded. "Deal." The station returned to its usual rhythm after the reactor crisis, but the atmosphere around Arya and Ethan grew heavier. The moment Arya saved the station, people had seen what she could do. But instead of respect, suspicion filled their eyes. To them, her abilities were unnatural, dangerous, and to walk beside her was to invite trouble. Ethan felt it everywhere. In the mess hall, conversations went quiet when he entered. In the corridors, workers stepped aside, leaving a wide gap as if he carried an infection. Whispers followed him like shadows. The human protects the monster. He's lost his mind. What if she turns on him? But Ethan refused to leave Arya alone. Every day he still sat with her, still laughed, still listened. And every day Arya's gaze grew more conflicted. One evening, as they sat in their quiet corner, Arya lowered her head. Her glowing eyes dimmed. "You should not stay near me anymore," she said softly. Ethan frowned. "Why would I do that?" "Because they hate me. And now they hate you too. I do not want you to suffer for me." Ethan shook his head firmly. "I'm not leaving. I don't care what they say. They don't know you like I do." Her claws curled tight. "You are too kind, Ethan. Too kind for this place." Days later, the council of the station called for a meeting. The chamber was filled with representatives of different species. Their forms varied and strange. Some shimmered with scales, some floated like jellyfish, and others towered with fur and horns. At the far edge, humans sat among them, their expressions unreadable. Arya stood at the center, surrounded by glares. Ethan sat in the back, his fists clenched. The lead counselor, a tall creature with silver skin and long antennae, spoke coldly. "This Valari has interfered in our systems. Her actions cannot be ignored. Many here believe she caused the malfunction to make herself appear useful." "That's a lie," Ethan shouted, unable to stay silent. His voice echoed in the chamber. "She saved the station. Without her, you'd all be space dust." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some voices agreed, but others hissed with fear. Another, counselor with 4 eyes that blinked out of sync, leaned forward. "Even if she did help, what proof do we have of her loyalty? She is an outcast of her own kind. If her own people do not trust her, why should we?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Because you judge her by what she looks like, not who she is. She's better than any of you who sit here and pretend you stand for unity." Gasps filled the chamber. A few laughed bitterly, but the silver-skinned counselor raised a hand for silence. "The human speaks boldly, but bold words cannot erase fear. This, Arya, is a danger to our peace. We must consider removing her from the station." The decision was not final that day, but the threat was clear. Ethan and Arya left the chamber in silence. The stairs burned into their backs. Later, as they walked through the dim corridors, Ethan finally spoke. "They're wrong about you. Every single one of them." Arya's voice cracked. "But they are not wrong about fear. It clings to me, Ethan. I see it in their eyes. I feel it in their silence. I am poison to them." He stopped, placing his hand gently on her arm. "No, you're not poison. You're the cure to their blindness. They just don't see it yet." For the first time, Arya let her emotions flow openly through touch. Ethan felt waves of pain, so strong he staggered. Her loneliness pressed into him like a weight, but beneath it a fragile flame burned, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, he was right. But the hatred on the station did not stop at whispers or meetings. It turned into action. One night, Ethan was working late in the engine bay when he heard a metallic clang. He turned to see two figures blocking the exit. Their faces were hidden by masks, but their voices were full of contempt. "You should have listened. Human," one hissed. "You don't belong with that thing. None of us do." Ethan clenched his fists. "She's not a thing. She's got more heart than you'll ever have." The second figure stepped closer, holding a plasma cutter like a weapon. "Stay away from her, or next time, we won't stop with words." Before Ethan could reply, a shadow moved silently behind them. Arya. She stepped from the darkness, her glowing eyes burning. Her claws flexed, not in attack, but in warning. The masked figures froze. "You will not touch him," she said, her voice low and vibrating through the walls. For a moment, fear flashed in their eyes. They backed away slowly, then turned and fled into the shadows. Ethan exhaled, his heart racing. He looked at her. "You shouldn't have followed me." "I had to," Arya replied. "You protect me when no one else will. Tonight, I protect you." Ethan smiled faintly. "Seems we're even now." But the danger was only growing. The next morning, Ethan found his name marked on the station's public board. Red letters scrawled in multiple languages. "Traitor to his kind." Beneath it, a cruel drawing of Arya, twisted into a monster with blood dripping from her claws. Arya saw it too. She said nothing, but her shoulders sagged. Ethan tore the message, down in fury, but he knew the damage was done. Later, he found her staring out the window at the dying star. Her claws tapped nervously against the glass. "Perhaps I should leave," she whispered. "If I go, they will stop hating you." Ethan stepped beside her, his voice steady. "If you go, they win. Fear wins, and I lose the best friend I've ever had." Her glowing eyes turned to him, full of conflict. "You would risk everything for me?" "Without question," he said. "Because you're worth it." For a long moment, Arya said nothing. Then, very carefully, she reached for his hand. Their touch hummed with vibrations, not of loneliness this time, but of something stronger, something that gave Ethan hope. And though threats circled them like vultures, that night they stood together, side by side, against fear, against prejudice, against the galaxy itself if needed. The station no longer felt like home. Every corridor whispered danger. Every face carried suspicion. Ethan and Arya could not walk together without feeling the weight of 100 hostile eyes. The council had not yet forced Arya to leave, but the decision hung above them like a blade waiting to fall. For Ethan, the final warning came one night when his cabin door slid open to reveal a message burned into the metal. "Leave the monster, or leave in pieces." He touched the scorched letters with a steady hand, but inside his heart raced. He had known hatred before, but never this sharp. It was no longer words or whispers. It was a promise. When he told Arya, her glowing eyes dimmed. "I should go," she said quietly. "If I leave, you will be safe." "No," Ethan said firmly. "If you go, they'll only find someone else to hate. You're not the problem, Arya. Their fear is." She stared at him for a long time, her claws curling against her arms. Then what do we do? Ethan looked out the window at the stars. Beyond the borders of the station lay uncharted systems, wild and dangerous, but free from the Council's grip. We run, he said finally. We find our own path. That night they acted. Ethan knew the docking bays well. He had worked on most of the small ships. Together, under the cover of dim corridor lights, they moved silently toward Bay 7, where a cargo shuttle rested. Alarms had not yet sounded. The guards were distracted by a freighter unloading rare crystals. Arya walked close beside him, her steps quiet, her sharp body blending into the shadows. When they reached the shuttle, Ethan slid open the hatch. "Get in," he whispered. Arya hesitated. "If we do this, there is no turning back." Ethan met her glowing eyes. "There's nothing left here worth turning back to." For the first time since he had known her, Arya's lips curved into something almost like a smile. She climbed aboard. The engines hummed to life. The docking clamps released with a metallic groan. Slowly, the shuttle slipped from the bay, leaving the great station behind. Alarms began to echo across the comms. They had been discovered. A patrol ship launched after them, lights flashing. Ethan gripped the controls, pushing the small vessel harder than it was designed to go. "Hold on," he shouted. The shuttle jolted as the patrol ship fired warning shots. Sparks lit the cabin. Arya placed her claws against the wall, closing her eyes. "I can feel their engine vibrations," she murmured. "Their thrust patterns. Turn 40 degrees now." Ethan obeyed without hesitation. The shuttle spun sharply, and a plasma shot streaked harmlessly past where they had been. "You just saved us again," Ethan said, grinning. Arya opened her eyes. "Perhaps I am finally useful." "You've always been useful," he said. They were just too blind to see it. Minutes later, they slipped into the outer darkness, far from the patrol ship's reach. The station became a distant speck of light against the dying star. For the first time in months, silence did not feel heavy. It felt free. Their journey into uncharted space began. The shuttle was small, its supplies limited. Ethan set a careful course toward a nebula where they could hide and refuel from drifting ice asteroids. Days turned into weeks. At first, the silence of space pressed on them, but slowly life aboard the shuttle shaped into something new. Ethan fixed broken systems while Arya studied the stars. She tapped her claws against the hull, feeling the hum of the universe itself. One evening, as they shared a simple meal of nutrient packs, Arya spoke softly. "When I was young, I thought I would always be alone. My own people refused to touch me. They said my vibrations were wrong, that I was unnatural." Ethan listened quietly. "But you," she continued, her glowing eyes watching him. "You touched me without fear. You saw me when no one else would." "Why?" Ethan set down his pack. "Because I saw someone worth Kata-Mance." The station was tense. News of the market attack had spread quickly and whispers filled every corridor. Aliens and humans alike talked in hushed tones about the so-called monster and the human who defended her. Ethan and Zyra moved cautiously, aware that danger still lingered, but they had a mission. The attackers weren't acting alone, Ethan said as they walked through a quieter sector of the station. He held a small datapad showing surveillance recordings. "They're part of a larger operation, illegal tech smuggling, and I think they've been using the station to move goods without anyone noticing." Zyra's amber eyes narrowed. "That explains the market. They wanted to scare out the outcasts and small merchants so no one would notice the shipments." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. We can't let them get away with this. We need allies." Zyra thought for a moment. "There are others like me, outcasts, travelers, people who've been ignored or mistreated. They will help if we ask. And maybe the station guards if we have proof." They moved through hidden corridors, reaching a small meeting place where Zyra's allies waited. These were beings who had been shunned for their differences, creatures with extra limbs, odd-colored skin, or unusual features. When Zyra entered, they greeted her with respect and relief. Zira, one of them said, a tall alien with silver hair and 4 eyes. We heard what happened. How can we help? Zyra explained the situation briefly. We need to stop the gang and uncover their operation. They are dangerous, but if we work together, we can end this. Ethan stepped forward. I can coordinate. I know the tech, the routes, and the security systems. We'll need a plan that uses everyone's strengths. No one gets hurt if we do this carefully. The group nodded, ready to act. Zira felt a surge of pride. For the first time, she was leading a team, not as a feared monster, but as a respected and capable leader. The plan was simple but risky. They would split into teams. One group would create a distraction at the docking bays, drawing the gang's attention. Ethan and Zira would sneak into the warehouse where the illegal tech was, stored and secure the evidence. The rest would support from strategic points, ready to block escape routes. As night fell over the station, the operation began. The distraction team set off small energy flares and noise devices, pulling the gang members away from the warehouse. Alarms rang, lights flashed, and chaos erupted in the docking area. Ethan and Zira moved silently through the shadows. Zira's keen eyes spotted traps and sensors that could have gone unnoticed. She guided Ethan past them, using her agility and extra arms to manipulate doors and disable security panels. Finally, they reached the warehouse. Inside, crates of illegal tech glowed faintly under dim lights. Ethan quickly scanned and recorded the items, sending the data to the station authorities. Zira stood watch, her senses alert for any movement. Suddenly, a gang member appeared in the doorway, blaster raised. Ethan acted fast, using a small stun device to disable him temporarily. Zyra moved with lightning speed, blocking the exit and holding the intruder until he was restrained. Nice work, Ethan whispered, giving her a quick nod. Zyra's amber eyes glimmered with pride. This was teamwork, respect, and trust in action, the things she had never experienced before. Within minutes, the rest of the gang members were trapped or distracted. The station guards, armed with the evidence Ethan had sent, moved in to secure the area. The operation was a success. As the dust settled, the station authorities gathered the heroes. Ethan stood with Zyra at his side, and Zyra's allies flanked them. For the first time, the crowd saw her not as a monster, but as a hero. Murmurs of fear and mockery were replaced with respect and awe. One guard stepped forward. You saved lives. You exposed an illegal operation. The station owes you both gratitude. Zira felt a warmth in her chest. She had fought, led, and survived. And now, for the first time, others recognized her for more than her appearance. Ethan's hand brushed against hers, subtle and reassuring. You see? Ethan said softly. It's not about what they think. It's about what you do and who you are. Zyra looked at him, her amber eyes shining. I never thought anyone would see me this way. Not really. Ethan smiled. I did, and I'm not the only one who does now. The crowd slowly started to applaud. Zira felt a mix of relief, pride, and something else. Something unfamiliar and exciting. She had always been alone, feared, and judged. But now she was valued. She had made a difference, and others could see her worth. As the station quieted again, Ethan and Zira walked through the corridors, side by side. Zira's steps were lighter than they had been in years. Thank you, she said softly. Ethan shook his head. No, thank you. You taught me something too. Courage isn't about not feeling fear, it's about facing it. And trust. Real trust. Changes everything. Zira felt a warmth she had never known. She allowed herself a small smile. Maybe humans were different from what she had expected. Maybe, just maybe, they could see beyond appearances, beyond fear, beyond judgment. For the first time, Zyra felt that she belonged somewhere. Not just because she had proven herself, but because someone believed in her, respected her, and trusted her completely. And as she walked beside Ethan, she realized something else. It wasn't just trust or respect. She felt a bond, a connection, that went deeper than she could explain. She had found someone who saw her, Not the monster others called her, but the real Zira. And that realization made her feel stronger, braver, and more alive than ever before. The market on Station Alien had changed. Smoke no longer rose from burnt stalls, and merchants returned to set up their goods. The atmosphere was lively once again, but the respect in the air was different this time. Whispers of fear had turned into admiration. People no longer saw Zira as a monster. They saw a hero. Zira walked among the repaired stalls, her amber eyes bright. Her stall had been rebuilt, and she had even added new artifacts she had collected during her travels. Humans and aliens alike stopped to admire her goods, some asking questions politely, others offering smiles. Zira's tail twitched nervously. She had never received such attention, and for once it wasn't mocking or judgmental. Ethan approached, carrying a small box with new trinkets he had purchased during his travels. "Here," he said, handing it to her. "For your stall. Something to start fresh." Zira took the box, surprised. "You didn't have to." Ethan shrugged, smiling. "I wanted to. You've done so much for the station, and for me. You deserve it." Zira's chest felt warm. His words, his kindness, and his presence had changed something inside her. For the first time, she felt truly seen, truly appreciated. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked. "We have a new mission soon. Nothing too dangerous this time, I promise." Zira laughed softly, a sound she hadn't made in years without fear in it. "I'm ready. With you, I feel like I can do anything." They walked together through the market side by side. The crowd gave them space, not out of fear, but out of respect. Some waved, some nodded, acknowledging their courage and teamwork. Zira's heart swelled with a feeling she had never experienced: belonging. Later, as the station lights dimmed and most of the merchants closed for the night, Ethan and Zira sat near the observation deck, watching stars streak past the vast windows. The hum of the station was soft, peaceful, and for a moment the chaos of the past days felt far away. "You know," Ethan said quietly, "most people never get a chance to truly change how others see them. You've done it, Zira. You've changed it for yourself and for the outcasts around here." Zira looked at him, her amber eyes glimmering. "I never thought anyone could see me this way. I thought I would always be alone, feared, rejected. But you showed me something different." Ethan leaned closer, gently. "I didn't show you anything you didn't already have. Courage, strength, intelligence, you've always had them. I just reminded you, and the station, that those things matter more than appearances." Zira's tail curled around her slowly. She wanted to believe him, and more than that, she wanted to trust the warmth she felt in her chest. "Why did you care?" she asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. "Because I see you," Ethan said simply. "Not the scales, not the extra limbs, not the fears. I see you, and that's enough." For the first time, Zira didn't shy away from a human's touch. She allowed her hand to brush against his as they watched the stars. It was a small gesture, but it held a promise of trust, of friendship, and perhaps something more. Days passed, and the market thrived once more. Zira's stall became a meeting place for travelers, outcasts, and curious aliens. She shared stories of her adventures and helped newcomers navigate the challenges of the station. People who had once avoided her now sought her guidance and admired her bravery. Ethan continued to explore, always returning to Zira. Together, they embarked on missions that were exciting but safe, each adventure strengthening their bond. Zira taught Ethan about alien cultures, survival tactics, and the art of reading dangerous environments. Ethan shared human ingenuity, problem-solving, and his ability to see beyond fear. One evening, after another successful mission, they returned to the station and walked through the market hand in hand. Zira noticed the smiles and nods from the crowd. Outcasts, merchants, and travelers alike acknowledged them with respect. She realized that she had changed the way people saw monsters, not just herself, but anyone who was different. You've done more than survive, Ethan said softly, breaking her thoughts. You've